what I thought was really interesting is you started this album with the song Heartbeat, which is a very kind of stripped down, you know, laid bare song, both for you as a singer and the band instrumentally. Um, and I was curious, why did you decide that should be the listener's entrance into this album?
Good question, Chris. I felt that it was a show, a different side of Enuff Z'nuff. That's why. Uh, we've always been the critics' darlings, but no one really knows what kind of music we play. It's all we're people say we're heavy metal, we're a hair band. I think we're a little bit of a potpourri in this music business. It's hard to categorize us because we're a pop band. As far as I'm concerned, at the end of the day, pop rock band. But we play rock and roll. There's elements of metal and alternative in our music. And on this record here, the Xtra Cherries record, I just wanted to take a different turn. I don't want to keep repeating myself. And if you listen to all the Enuff Z'nuff albums, which we've released over 20 albums, and that's not counting the live records and outtakes and all kinds of stuff. We've been very prolific, without sounding modest, for quite a long time. And I just want to try to do something that was to the left and to the right, and it kind of, you couldn't grab onto it and grasp it unless you listened to all the songs. And that was a great introduction to the album, where we've never done anything like that before, showing a whole different side of what we're all about. It's a great pop song, and it's something that I think a lot of people can relate to, especially in this day and age. You don't have to be a bombastic rock band and come out with heavy stuff right away. Even the heaviest bands out there sometimes take it down a couple notches. And on this, I think that we've built something that was real nice and organic. And I believe the fans, when they hear this, will be pleasantly surprised to hear a song like that. Won't know what to expect for the rest of the record. And they'll be pleasantly surprised when they go to song 2 and song 3 and hear those songs played, the pop songs played aggressively.
Yeah. And so, okay. Because it is a nice, I don't know, it is an interesting, kind of declaration. This is going to be a different album, and in that sense, it does grab your attention from note one. And building off of what you said about, the sound and the other songs, what I think is especially fascinating with the band and with this album in particular is I love the contradiction, if that's the right term, between the lush vocals you guys have going and the edgy guitar, because sonically they're at different ends of the spectrum, but it works so well. And I'm wondering, what is the key to, getting those things to mesh, to dovetail so nicely?
Well, Chris, I'm not so sure. We've always been a kind of a band that's never followed the trends, and we've been the underdog for years. And I just don't know how to answer that question, except to say that we've been a band that has guitar. We are guitar heavy in a lot of the stuff that we do, but we also have piano and keyboards in our songs as well. And I think on that first track, it's lush and pretty, but it's organic and it's stripped down. It's just piano and a cappella, my pipes.
Yeah.
And it tells a nice little story, where the rest of the record, I think there's some nice little stories there too, because obviously there's a potpourri of stuff to write about in this world that we live in. And I think I captured some moments through my kaleidoscope on what is happening through my rose-colored glasses. Today they're purple, by the way.
Yes.
And I believe that if you listen to all the Enuff Z'nuff albums, go back to the first records and the early stuff, all the way up to today, there's a nice little continuation of our story of what we've done and how we've learned and how we've grown up in our lifestyle and what we've done as a band from day one. And it's not really, we haven't really deterred from that very much, except right here. It's not as bombastic as previous records, because for obvious reasons. The band's a little bit different right now, and the times are different as well. And we're certainly not writing for radio. We never have because let's face it, most radio stations around the country are just playing stuff that was successful in the past. They're not really
Yeah.
looking for new rock and roll bands or pop bands because there's plenty of them out there that are playing great songs and putting out wonderful records that just don't get recognition. We're one of the lucky bands because we had some success in the early days with MTV and radio that we can still go out there and play, and there's an audience that likes the band, and they appreciate. I believe Enuff Z'nuff moving forward, even though, as I said earlier, we're the underdogs. And on this record here, it's really a band in the studio just playing. It's a bunch of guys getting together, and with these songs that I've written and some of them co-written, and I think it's a nice little powwow that we have in our camp right now, where just come up with the best songs you can and put them out there and see what happens. Because anything else is icing on the cake, as I've said.
Yeah.
Just the opportunities are very slim because there's too much product out there and not enough demand.
Right. But there is, yeah, but it does bring up actually something I read that when I was doing some prep work and going back through some of your other interviews, and you talked about, and this kind of coincides, that back when the band formed, the goal was to create, quote, stuff that really moves us more than anything. And yet you're in this business, in this realm where the business side of things, the tech side of things, more and more encroaches on the creative side of things. So how have you, through all these 21 albums, stayed true to that magnetic north of, no, we're just going to do stuff that moves us?
Well, as I've said quite a few times, the business is predicated on friendships and relationships. We've made a lot of them out there, and that's kept us going for a long time. We've been loyal to the fans. The fans have been loyal back to us, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day. But we still have that same trajectory. We write songs that trip our trigger, and if it passes the test of time over here in our camp, we share it with the audience. It's always been that way. And I'm not putting out any records that I think are subpar to what we've done in the past. And that could be questionable to some people out there listening to it. Go, oh man, we love that early stuff when you guys had Derek Frigo and Vicky Fox and Donnie B. That's great stuff. You can't compete against that. And those were wonderful moments too. But perhaps even in the early days, we came out a little too late. We got signed in '88 by Atco Atlantic. Record didn't come out till '89, and it was a short run because by '91 we had a change in the guard in the music business with Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice Chains, all great bands. And it was a whole different look. It was like MTV got together, had a meeting one day and said, look, we're going to come up with another music, another style. It's called grunge. The stuff with the long hair with the Motley Crues and the Poisons and those other bands, we're just going to call that hair metal. And we're going to move forward. And
Right.
which is a shortcut to thinking as far as I'm concerned. But
Yeah.
as we moved on and the band has changed, we lost a couple of band members that were fabulous and really gave everything they had in those early days, and they left a really indelible mark as far as I'm concerned. Vicky Fox and Ricky Parent and Derek Frigo. And I thank God I get a chance to listen to those records and watch those videos and see my old brothers playing with us, because those are moments you can't get back, and those are memories that will last a lifetime for me. I think the new band right here is solid as a rock, and we put out, since I've been fronting the band, 7 or 8 records, and they've all done really well. Some of them even charted on the Billboard chart. It's not a big push that we had. There's not a lot of money behind the band. We finally have a label, Cleopatra Records, that believes in exactly what we're doing, and they took a chance on putting this record out there, but not before us giving them a great record and calling some of our constituents to come down and play with us. And I think that's really what's elevated us on this new Xtra Cherries record, is to have great rock stars sitting there with us.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, Steve Stevens, who's been with Billy Idol, forever, Robin Zander of Cheap Trick, Neil Schon of Journey. What I'm wondering with those guests is, one, how do you decide who is a good fit for which song? And two, what kind of direction do you give these guys about what you're looking for?
One, I call guys who I have a relationship with that I enjoy. Two, you never tell them what to play because that wrecks everything right there. Why would you put handcuffs on some of the best musicians in the world? Let them play. They're going to come
Mhm.
up with great creative stuff, and it's going to fit exactly what you're trying to do, and maybe take it to a place that you didn't envision. That's the special thing about collaborating with great musicians. And, the Neil Schon track, that's an old song from 30 years ago. It never got released. I was going through. I've saved everything on my in my library. I have an old
Mhm.
Journey flight case down in my studio where I live in Blue Island, and it's packed with a couple hundred DAT tapes and tons of 2-inch tapes, analog
Nice.
tapes that we recorded on. And when I was making this record, I was just trying to find songs that would fit the Xtra Cherries mode. Songs that perhaps we did that slipped by and slipped through the cracks in the early days. And that Neil Schon track, he came down to Chicago in the '90s as I was producing a band called the Cyclops Blues Band,
Hmm.
which featured members of Sly and the Family Stone and Steve Miller Band, the Tubes. All these
Mm.
cats are playing at Europe. All these guys are playing this record. Neil was in that band along with Ross Valerie.
Yeah.
And they came to Chicago. I was producing a couple of songs for them. And I was lucky enough, Herbie Herbert, the old manager of Enuff Z'nuff and Journey, called me down and says, yes, I want you and Donnie to get involved in this and do a couple of some background vocals and some singing. Chip, you're going to co-produce it with a guy named Dave Denny, who wrote Nobody Loves You Like the Way I Do for Steve Miller. He's a good producer. And so we
Mhm.
got together and we had a few hours off and we went to the studio and recorded one song. That was it. We did 2 takes of it live, no overdubs, no, hey, let's punch this in, let's fix this note, let's do
Mhm.
this. Nothing like that. It was a real live record like bands used to make back in the
Yeah.
old days before the advent of Pro Tools and computers.
Right.
And we recorded a song and it just sat. And, it sounded great. The rhythm track was terrific. And we just, nothing ever happened with it. So when I called Neil to play on the record, he had different thoughts. He wanted to play with us, but he wasn't happy with where we were housing our music. So he passed on. He wanted too much. So when I talked to Herbie before he passed away, Herbie mentioned to me, he goes, what about that old song you guys had from a long time ago over at Chicago Recording Company? Why don't you try to do something with that? I said, I forgot all about that.
Hmm.
And I pulled my tapes out. And after a week of going through all the stuff, we found the track. You can tell right away because it starts with Neil's beautiful guitar playing. And I said, this is a miracle right here. But what do I do about a vocal? Am I just going to write a lyric or sing over it? And a light bulb went off. And I said, Robert Fleischman. Robert was responsible for early Journey stuff. Like he wrote Wheel in the Sky and Anytime with Neil.
Mhm.
Then he went out after a year of singing in Journey to join Vinnie Vincent Invasion. And of course, Steve Perry joined Journey after that. And it took the band exponentially into another sphere. And I thought, well, maybe if I have him listen to the track, he might be interested in doing that. It'd almost be like a reacquaintance of an old relationship. And I asked Robert Fleischman, he lives in Wisconsin, if he'd be
Mm.
interested in singing on it. And we've had a good relationship, Robert, in the past because he put a record out called Emotional Atlas, and it's more of a synthesized record. It's real EMD or EDM, but he asked me to play bass on the record, and I did. And I think that opened the doors up for me to ask him if he wanted to collaborate. As soon as he knew that we were doing another record and that Neil Schon was on it, he jumped at it immediately. And he wrote that lyric and sang in a half an hour. Really a
Wow.
talented songwriter, a wonderful musician, and a great singer as well. I sang some
Yeah.
harmonies on it. We listened to it. We said, hey, we got something real special here. Let's add this on the record and see what the label thinks. And of course, Cleopatra was tickled pink that we would have members of Journey and Vinnie Vincent Invasion on the same record. And that's an exciting track for me. I put it last because most of the songs on the record I'm singing all lead vocals. And
Mhm.
Robert, to me, is a far superior voice than I do. And I didn't want to have something that was, I thought, that didn't fit in. I put it in the middle of the record or early in the record. I didn't want the audience to expect that all the way throughout. So I put it as the last song on the record, but it's really a wonderful little send off and showing our appreciation for all the years of playing together, Neil and myself, and of course now Robert be on this record. Any of the Journey fans that are out there will be totally excited to hear the track, and it's a great pop rock tune.
Yeah, yeah. Another one that really jumped out at me was "No Cold Feeling," and there's two aspects to that. Number one, I love the lyric, the absence of no cold feeling, and just the fun wordplay of, sometimes it's more interesting not to say what something is than to say what it isn't, which I think, you achieve with that one. And I'm wondering if you remember how that particular lyric came about or popped into your head.
Yeah, the lyric came about. There was a Steve Brown lyric when I was on tour with Trickster, and Steve plays with Trickster along with uh, Def Leppard, and he just finished up the Ace Frehley record, 10,000 Volts. He produced that and put it all together, and he's a fabulous singer songwriter. And he came down with that. He wanted to do a project with me and we'll call it One Brown's Enough. It was just him and I doing 10 songs together. But when he sent me that tune, when I was putting together the record, I said, I want to put this on Enuff Z'nuff album. Let me do my thing to it, and I'll keep most of what you wrote, and I'll just add to it what I think would be a nice little icing on the cake, so to speak. But that lyric right there was a Steve Brown lyric, and I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's absolutely very well written. Shows you the complexity of him as a songwriter. He's a very smart cat, and he comes from the same school as we do. He loves Beatles, loves Cheap Trick, loves Queen, and that song right there shows you an unabashed version of early Cheap Trick. If you ask me, it's like almost like Hello Kitties. It's got a little bit of jellyfish in there, as a matter of fact, too, because we both wear our influences on our sleeve.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I love that line, and I also love, and it occurred to me, the vocal parts where you're doing the na na nas. You don't hear that a lot in modern music, and yet it's so catchy. It's this immediate way in for the listener to the song, and again, it has this great. I don't know. You guys aren't afraid to do the juxtaposition of, again, lush, fun vocals with, hard hitting guitars.
Yeah, well, we heard that right away. I knew that was the hook, as far as I'm concerned, right there for an audience to sing. Yeah, and the record company heard it as well, because Cleopatra said that's going to be the first single. And then, of course, things changed after that, and they go, there's a lot of singles here. Let's just try to do videos for as many songs as we can, because there's not much of a budget there. And videos are expensive, but I got Tiapan Films out here in Chicago to shoot the video for No Cold Feeling along with Heavy Metal, and you'll be seeing that real soon. And yeah, I'm real proud of that track. I think that really encapsulates everything what Enuff Z'nuff is all about at the end of the day. A pop rock band full of piss and vinegar, and we always go out there, and it's a strong track for any of the diehard Enuff Z'nuff fans that are out there. And for the new people that don't know about our band, it's a great sing-along tune.
It is. It is. Yeah. And you talked about that you stuck to the old-fashioned way of recording this by just having the guys go into the studio. But I'm wondering if you've made so many albums, and you've obviously learned a lot over the course of those years. What has changed with how you approach things in the studio that maybe you didn't do in those early records?
Well, no, Chris, not much has changed, to be honest with you, except for the advent of Pro Tools. My studio here in the south side of Chicago, I have a 2-inch tape machine downstairs, a 1/2 inch as well. I run a snake up to the first floor. I got a bunch of outboard gear. It's really nice. Good equipment, some nice microphones. I pretty much take the same approach. The only difference would be in the old days, I'd be in a big, huge studio spending $2,500 a day at A&M or Chicago Recording Company or Music Grinder or One-on-One at those big studios, which are beautiful places, but it costs a Brinks truck. And there's the difference right now in the studios is, do we have a budget? That's why you see a lot of studios not lasting, making it to the fourth quarter, because everybody wants home studios. I prefer to go to a studio that I can enjoy myself and sit on the couch and relax, and the band can all plug in and get behind the console and and bash out a couple songs, but it just isn't that way anymore for a lot of artists. It's
Mm.
much easier, much more cost effective to do it in the confines of your own crib if you have the equipment. That's really the
Yeah.
only difference. In those old days, man, I used to love going to the studio and you have guys like, Cheap Trick and Dweezil Zappa and the cats from, some of the bigger bands out there, Disturbed or groups that were from the Dokken and LA,
Hmm.
Faster Pussycat. We'd be out in LA. All these guys would come out and hang out with us in the studios. And it set up a great vibe. It really did. And everybody was excited about it. Even sometimes we were able to get guys that, come in and play on the record as well or sing on a track. But those days, it's very difficult to find the budgets to go in and spend $100,000 in a great studio. You're better off making the record. If you've been making records like I have for years, you're better off just tracking the record and taking it somewhere else and going over to Stonecutter Studio in Chicago with Chris Steinmetz, who did a bunch of stuff with Kiss, or going over to Chicago Recording Company with Chris Shepard and just doing records there where you can track it at your place and mix it at another place. That's always great. And then you can obviously for mastering, you got a lot of options out there too.
Yeah.
Where you can go out and do stuff with Anthony Fox over in Nashville. He does a lot of great mastering stuff. And take it and go to different places so you can still capture different people's visions and borrow their ears as well. The only difference, though, as I said before, is the budget. I love recording in the big studios, but being a small studio, it's not going to take away your creativity because when we're writing these songs, it's an acoustic guitar sitting around the kitchen with a joint and an ashtray. That's it.
No, that's awesome. But I mean, besides the budgeting, aren't there benefits to having that home studio? And B, couldn't you're in Chicago, which is a major hub for the touring world. Wouldn't it be possible to still have people drift in and out and kind of recreate that old hangout studio vibe, but in your home?
Well, Chris, you could do that for sure, but nowadays with the gap in the internet and Pro Tools, you could just send over your hard drive and your songs to anybody around the country. They can sing and play on it and send it right back to you.
Right.
So there's a
Yeah.
difference. In the old days when we were making records, it was everybody in the studio at the exact same time, we're all playing together. It was a 2-inch tape that was rolling, and you plug in, you hit play and record, you do your thing, and you had to be in the same room together. And nowadays, and hip hop guys have showed it for years. They all just pass stuff around to each other, and before you know it, you see a record, and it's got Jay-Z and Lil Wayne and all these different cats on the record playing together.
Right.
It's Twista and Kanye West. They're all sharing the same studio time by doing it in different facilities. And it's the same thing with us. I'm glad that on this record, I pretty much took the hip hop approach. Those guys are smart. They share the stage with each other. They get up there and they play on tracks and everybody's on there and you get a chance to share your music with their audience. I did the same thing on this record, if you think about it. A bunch of white guys in the studio, and I'm just pillaging off those cats, okay? And getting the guys from Journey and Guns N' Roses and Cheap Trick and Trickster, Steve Stevens, and they all play together, and then their audience gets a chance to hear what we're doing too. And I think it elevates our perception. I really do at the end of the day.
Yeah. And throughout the album, but also in the first single, Heavy Metal, there's some really interesting, hard hitting bass work that's going on. And I'm curious, how have you changed as a bass player over the years?
I don't know if I've changed it. Maybe a little smarter. I could always play. My influences were great.
Mm-hmm.
The bands I grew up loving, from the Beatles, Paul McCartney, Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath, John Deacon, Queen, fabulous player. Oberyn Watts from Mount Hoople. I love Tom Hamilton as well. Tom Peterson from Cheap Trick. As I've said a million times, show me a guy without influences. I'll show you a guy who hasn't written one note. But bass, I think I listen to this song. I play for the song. I always have. Maybe that sets me apart. I could always get fancy and play fast stuff if I wanted to. I'll leave it up to great guys like Billy Sheehan.
Yeah.
nobody's gonna touch him. He's a wonderful friend and a great player. I'm just playing for the song, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, I'm listening to the melody line, the lyric of the song, and that's my trajectory where I take the bass from. For years and years, I've been playing 4-string, 8-string, 12-string bass. I mix it up. I play a lot of guitar too. A lot of people don't know that. So on most of the records that I do, it's me mixing it up, playing all the different instruments. I feel comfortable that way. So I know my instrument pretty well. I'm pretty comfortable, but I'm still learning every single day, Chris. Listening to stuff. There's so much good music out there from the past and from the present. And I'm a student at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think it shows, and I don't know. It also fascinates me because I've always thought of the bass as kind of this secret weapon with bands, in that the average person may not necessarily tune in on it, but again, if you took it away, they would sense that something important is missing.
Well,
Um,
I believe you there, Chris. Although if you listen to the White Stripes, there's not much bass in those songs. Those Jack White,
no,
his band, they're pretty big. Okay, and he's done very well for himself. So for the most part, though, bass, yeah, very important instruments, the foundation of all the songs, as far as I'm concerned. Listen to those old Beach Boy records, Queen stuff.
mm,
That bass is very important. And even in the rock bands that are out there right now, the heavy stuff like Lamb of God, without the bass, you'd be doomed. Those songs are just powerful and heavy beyond belief. And Zach's band, Zach Sabbath, and Zach Wild's band, those
yeah,
bass parts, to me, it's everything. Even in the newer bands that are out there, Rival Sons, Dirty Honey, Vintage Trouble, they're not new, but they're a great band. The bass is predominant in all those songs. It's so important. I love the Lemon Twigs, Poppy that's out there right now. Don't get enough recognition. The bass parts are incredible. So
mm,
you listen to that, and it's all part of the song. And if you're hearing a song and the bass is not catching your attention, sometimes it's better than that because you're listening to the song and the bass is not taking anything away from it.
yeah, right, right. All right. Well, and then finally, I know you've been doing a bunch of interviews in for this album, and I'm wondering if there's anything you haven't been asked yet about the album that you want to talk about.
I'm just happy that we have another record that we're putting out in this day and age. The 2025, a new Enuff Z'nuff album, our 20th record. It's a miracle to me, Chris, that we're still out there making records and touring around the country. Not many bands can say that. We go out and play. We're not doing sheds and arenas. Although once in a while we get gigs, or our agency, Artists Worldwide, gets us on some nice little festival dates. For the most part, we're playing clubs and small theaters. We're not traveling in a $2,000 day bus because we can't afford gas. So we're out in an Oscar Mayer Wiener wagon or a little bit turn around. The days of an ounce of cocaine, bunch of Vicodin and Valium, and a Brinks truck full of Jack Daniels and Crown Royal, those days are gone too. So I'm grateful to still be alive and making records and being clean and sober and having a wonderful band. And my band is solid as rock. I got Jason Camino, who used to play with the Nelsons, playing guitar with us. He's fabulous. Been with me for a couple of years now. Wonderful musician. Louis Cahill from Red Double Vortex is playing guitar with us. He's a great singer as well. Solid as a rock human being.
Mhm.
Real prodigy. Just a fantastic. He's doing a record right now, as a matter of fact, with a couple of jazz cats, which I thought was interesting. And so he's a very, very diversified musician. And I have the old white wine drummer in the band as well. His name is Brent Arsman, and he used to play with White Wine for years. I think he's done a great job as well. A wonderful singer. So I put together a wonderful group. We go out there, we play shows all around the country, and we mix it up. We a lot of new songs in the set that we didn't do in the past for one reason or another. These guys are not lazy. They want to get out there and play. So when you come out and see Enuff Z'nuff, it's a real potpourri of a show where we mix up our live shows with not only the early stuff with the hits, but later on records too, from Diamond Boy and Hard Rock Night, and some stuff off of Finer and Sin, along
Mhm.
with the new record, which is Xtra Cherries. So when you come out and see an Enuff Z'nuff show, you get a bunch of hit songs. It's not just the Fly Michelle New Thing, Baby Loves You singles that were on MTV. It's some deep cuts that are in there as well. And I'm excited about that. And I do want to say, and a lot of people don't know about this, but we were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And this is quite an honor for Enuff Z'nuff. It's not the Cleveland one, but it's still good enough for me and for my band. And we'll be being inducted September 14th. And it's in Joliet, Illinois at the Rialto Theater. And it'll be with Disturbed, Smashing Pumpkins, Richard Marx, and a couple other illustrious musicians that are out there. So that's something I'm real proud of as well. And I see us touring throughout the year. It might not be a long tour because we played 140 shows last year, and it's a lot for a band without a hit song. But we'll be touring around the country all through 2025, and then, of course, 2026. Bunch of great stuff coming up, like Monsters of Rock Cruise with The Darkness and Zach Wild, a bunch of great bands. So we got a lot to look forward to. But in the meantime, I just want to focus my attention on pushing out this record. That's why I'm doing all the interviews, Chris, and talking to constituents and journalists around the country, letting them know that we have a brand new record, some great musicians playing on it. Even if you don't know who Enuff Z'nuff, if you like bands like Journey and Cheap Trick and Guns N' Roses, Trickster and the Nelsons, or Steve Stevens, check out the record. There may be something on there that might, actually put a smile on your knitted brow.